Hey y'all, what's up? What's going on? Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are doing a throwback Thursday. So this is something that I want to start doing once a month. So basically I'm going to go through my collection, pull out an old palette, maybe a palette that I hadn't used in a long time, talk about it, give you my thoughts on it, and then it's also another great way for me to use up some of my older things that I just haven't used in a while. So I got this idea because Urban Decay, the original Naked palette, is on sale, and someone asked me, and I can't remember if it was on YouTube or on my Instagram, if I thought this palette was worth it, and I said, you know what, hang on, let me do a full video on it. So today's video will be dedicated to the Urban Decay Naked palette. I believe they are discontinuing it, so it is half off. Original price $54 and it is $27 right now. So let's go ahead and get into the tutorial so you guys can see how this blends out, and then at the end I'll give you my thoughts. I have been doing different techniques as far as how I'm applying my foundation and setting everything, and I feel like this is the best my foundation and skin has looked in a long time, so we'll see that coming soon. But let's focus on what we're here for. Should I switch lenses? Let me switch lenses. Okay, so my thoughts have changed drastically since I've used this palette. I've had this palette, let me see, I've been at the salon for, this April will make 7 years. So I've had this palette for legit 6.5 years. So my thoughts have changed. Keep in mind, makeup 6.5 years ago ain't what it is now. When I first bought this palette was all the rage. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone loved it so much. The fact that they're about to discontinue it and it is now $27 is sad, but you know, I get it. It's been around for a minute. Time to move on to new things. But this is for you guys that are debating, you know, if you should purchase this because it is on sale. Is it worth the money? So I primed my eye with the Urban Decay Primer Potion and Caffeine. And then next up, so the first shade, okay, first of all, I got minimal shades in here. As you can see, she is used and abused. So we're working with what we got. I am going to first take a blending brush and we're gonna go in with Buck Furs. As you can see now, 6.5 years later, this shade, this palette literally doesn't have a transition tone, so that's something to keep in mind. So you might have to pull from another palette. I don't like doing that. Y'all know I like to stick with one palette, especially when I'm doing tutorials for you. So we're gonna go ahead and stick this in the transition area. And also something else about this palette, the shades, they're very shimmery and sparkly, so I am going to put a more of a shimmer tone in the crease, which is something I typically don't do, but since we're doing that, as you'll see, I'm not gonna take it super high. So for the first shade here, we're gonna go in with the shade Dark Horse. If my camera dies, I'm going to cry. I forgot to charge it after I was done filming yesterday. Alright, so we're taking this and we're gonna put it on the outer corner and in the crease, and since this is, it does have some sparkle, a little shimmer to it, I don't want to take it too high. I cringe whenever I see old photos. You know how Facebook shows you old photos, and I can tell whenever I was using this palette and I just have shimmer all here, the highlighted brow bone, I'm like, oh my god, that looks terrible. So keep it super low. Traditionally, I don't bring anything that has any kind of shimmer in the crease, but with this palette, we're working with what we got. In Dark Horse, it's not obsessively sparkling, you know what I mean? So it's not gonna look horrible. So keeping this here. I'm gonna blend that out a little bit more. And the look for this, it's going to be very neutral. Again, now that I'm looking at it 6.5 years later, it is definitely on the cooler side. It is a cool palette. Next up, I'm going to take what I have left of Smog, and I'm going to take a pencil brush because that's going to be the only way I can get anything out of here. And I'm just going to start putting that on the center of my lid and then on the inner. I love this shade. As you guys can tell, there was pretty much nothing left. Then I'm gonna go back in with my blending brush and blend those together. Again, not taking it too high. Now we're gonna go in with the shade Creep, and Creep is a black. I'm not sure if Creep has a little blue reflex in it because Gunmetal is right next to it, but this is Creep, and as you can see, I love this shade as well. And just to kind of define the outer corner a little bit, we're just gonna go ahead and tap that in. Did I turn my mic on? Whew, okay. Taking a little bit more of Dark Horse. Then next up, with my pencil brush, wiping that off, I'm gonna go in with, well actually no, first I'm going to line my waterline with the shade Dark Horse. And again, something else I never do, I'm using a shadow that does have some shimmer in it in the waterline. Never do that, but we're doing it today. And because this is a shimmer, I don't ever bring down my shadows in the waterline too far anyway. Some people look really, really great with that overly blown out look. I feel like mine always looks like I messed up when I do that, no matter how well blended it is. But because this does have a sparkle, I wouldn't advise bringing it down too far if you do want to do a blowout look, just simply because it's going to intensify any lines. If you have any lines, because it's a sparkle, if it sits on it, it might intensify any fine lines. Next up, I'm just going to take some of my eyeliner and I'm going to tight line the upper. And then for the inner tier, we're going to take the shade Inside Car. Love this shade here. It's a really, really nice pop. So as you can see, this look is predominantly, it's more of a cool tone, neutral, and it's shimmery. Alright, so I'm going to pop on some mascara and a lipstick, and then we'll get back to my thoughts. Alright guys, so let's talk about this palette. As you see, mine is used and abused. I've had this bad boy for 6.5 years, and after 6.5 years, I think it is just time for me to let it go. Just simply because, I mean, there's really no more colors left, but do you need this palette? Is it worth it? So makeup has evolved so much in the past 6.5 years. When this came out, it was so innovative because there was nothing on the market like this. Nothing whatsoever. So as you can see, how many mattes do you have in here? You got 1, 2, you have 2 mattes, and then the rest are shimmers. Hey guys, really quick for clarification. I don't know why I kept referring to the non-matte shades as shimmers. They are not shimmers, they are satin. So please excuse me, I just wanted to pop in and show you guys really quick. These are definitely more so on the lines of a satin, not a shimmer. Hang on really quick, let me give you a swatch. Okay, sorry, these are probably the worst swatches ever because I really didn't have many of the shadows I could actually swatch, but this is what I could get. And as you can see, they are definitely more on the lines of satin more so than shimmer. If anything, I would say maybe the shade Sidecar. Yeah, Sidecar and Gunmetal have a tish bit of sparkle in them, but definitely more so satin, not shimmer. My bad, sorry about that. A con about this palette is there is no transition tone. If you are a little bit lighter than me, my shade, or darker, there's just not. Back then, I didn't realize that. Didn't even really know what a true transition tone was at that point, so that is a con. So if you would have to pull from another palette to get a transition tone, which is something I do not like personally. I feel like if I'm going to use a palette, I just want to use that one palette for a look. I do that a lot for you guys just so it's easy for you trying to follow along, and also it's just easier for myself when I'm doing my makeup. I feel like I should be able to reach for one palette, and that palette should have everything that I need. So for that is a con. Next up, there are only 2 mattes, which means this palette is predominantly sparkle shimmer. If you are not into that, don't even waste your money on it. As you can see, my crease and outer corner is way more sparkly than it typically is. So what can happen is this can become a little bit tricky if you are someone who is a little bit more mature, whether if you have hooded eyes. Sometimes shimmer tones aren't exactly the most flattering, but you can totally get around with that. Just don't pull up too high. I'm fine with the shimmer tone like on the outer corner, but once you start working up into the transition and moving up, it can get a little bit tricky. So that is something else to look out for. However, the sparkle tones in here, the shimmers, are beautiful. I did thoroughly enjoy them, and I still do thoroughly enjoy them. Something else about this palette I did notice 6.5 years ago, this is a cool tone palette. 100% straight up cool tone. When I opened it up to get ready, I was just like, oh wow. It's just so funny how like my taste in the makeup and all the education that I have from then to now, like honestly, if this palette were to come out right now, I probably wouldn't go for it, just simply because there's a lot like this and I just typically don't reach for these shades. However, this has been a palette that it's so good to me. Now, do you need it? I feel like if you like cool tones, definitely get it. However, because I don't ever like to say buy something just because it's on sale, because essentially if it's on sale and you don't use it, you've still lost money regardless if you pay $54 or $27 for it. So if you are someone who does genuinely like shimmer and you do like cool tones, I couldn't even call this a neutral. This is straight up cool. Yeah, all of these are cool. There's nothing warm about this palette. So if you're someone who does like shimmer and you like cool tones, I would say check this out. But if you don't like a bunch of shimmer and you don't like cool tones, don't waste your money on it, okay? So I am going to part ways with this palette. It's gonna be very, very hard. This is the second palette that I've ever purchased, and it's just very nostalgic for me. This helps me to remember my humble beginnings, where I came from, how hard I've worked. I use this palette on myself. I use this palette on just numerous weddings, and it was a good time. So I am parting ways with it. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you are thinking about getting it, let me know if you are liking the whole idea of Throwback Thursday, and if there is a specific palette that you want to see, and if I happen to have it, what I think I'm going to do is in the description box, yeah, that's what I'll do. In the description box, I will list every single palette that I have that are not new. And if there is one that you guys want to see, let me know down below, alright? So, of course, you guys know, keep it simple. This was an easy, simple look for you. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Peace.